The rallies on Saturday were a follow-up to Juan Guaido's uprising attempt last week. At least 5 people died during the violent anti-government protests that we all watched play out.
And among those who died, a 14-year-old boy who was shot. CNN's Rafael Romo spoke with his father and the paramedic who tried to save his life.
It's the news Yhoifer Hernandez and his sister Janet never wanted to hear. Yhoifer Hernandez, Jose's son and Janet's nephew, died after being shot in the abdomen. The 14-year-old student was shot Wednesday during a violent anti-government demonstration in Caracas. His father says he wasn't far and heard the gunshots as well as the ambulance when they rushed his son to the hospital, not knowing the victim was his own son. This is the moment when Green Cross paramedics take the seriously injured boy into the ambulance.
It was very noticeable when that he was dying at the moment.
Federica Davila, a medical student and Green Cross paramedic, says their first responders tried to save the boy's life, but he was bleeding profusely and was already losing consciousness.
In what condition was this 14-year-old boy by the time you got him?
Well, when the team got him, he was conscious, and he said to the doctors that took him first, "I'm gonna die." Those were his last words.
Hernandez was one of 5 people who died during 2 days of protests that also left more than 230 injured, according to the United Nations. The UN also says that more than 40 people have died in violent demonstrations so far this year. Venezuela has seen several waves of deadly protests over the last few years. During an especially violent 4-month period in 2017, more than 120 people died. Then as now, most of the victims were young people. After years of clashes with security forces, some young protesters say the stalemate is beyond frustrating. They're tossing tear gas bombs against us and shooting at us, this protester says. We are the ones putting our lives at risk for our country, and some other people only come here to take selfies. The Venezuelan Ministry of Defense declined comment about the deaths, but President Nicolás Maduro has often referred to protesters in derogatory terms, suggesting they're nothing but vandals.
You're not the same person after you see a 14-year-old kid die in front of you.
Beyond the political polarization, Federica Davila, the paramedic, says her heart breaks to see young people die, especially when she realizes parents like Yhoifer Hernandez won't get to see their children grow into adults.
If you had an opportunity to talk to his father, what would you like to tell him?
I would just like to hug him and say I'm so really sorry that we did the best we could. It was out of our hands.
Davila says she often wonders how many more young people she will see die in her role as a Green Cross paramedic before peace returns at last to Venezuela. Rafael Romo, CNN, Caracas.